guys? Team Stamp West, Discraft Underground team captain. We got Alex. Alex, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Awesome. We're going to do a fun video of predictions for the 2021 season. We got two tiers of players, kind of our tier 1 players, we're going to call them, and then kind of our tier 2 players. And we'll give some criteria. Be sure to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. If you can, guys, we really appreciate it. And I had just made a post on Facebook about the Underground, so if you're interested in the Underground, it's that time of year. Go check the post. I dropped a couple tips for applicants and people interested in the team there. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. And our tier 1 qualifications, or I guess what we're going to be talking about is if these players are going to be over or under. And our first tier is going to be 3.5 top 10s and 1.5 wins. And to give some scope to it, there are 27 events this year.
Yeah, so 27 events. We've got our 12 DGPT events. We have 6 Silver Series. We have the DGPT Final. And then we have 6 National Tour events, Worlds, USDGC, and then opposite USDGC is US Women's. There are, like we were talking about it a bit before the video, and there are a lot of events. You could make an entire tour just out of these events, not to mention some of the Euro trip stuff. So it's quite the list. With 27 total events, you are probably going to see some parity. Some of the smaller Silver Series events, some of the bigger guys might not show up, so some of those tier 2 guys might get those results we're talking about, but we'll see. So we're going to start with probably the easiest one. We're going to start easy for both of us. Macbeth. So Macbeth on 3.5 top 10s and Macbeth on 1.5 wins. What do you think?
I'm taking the over on both of these. I think it's Macbeth. He's for sure finishing in the top 10, and I would really be surprised if Macbeth does not get 2 wins next year. So I'm taking the over on both of those.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's the easiest one on the list. I think the second easiest one I'll go after in a second, but the easiest one on the list, saying Macbeth will win 2 events or more, getting 3.5 top 10s. Not to mention, I mean, he might get 4 wins. He's that dominant at times. It'll be interesting to see how he does coming off of the COVID year, but I think he's a clear over on both. Next up, I want to talk about Pierce, probably the other really easy one to call. I'd say over on both. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going over on both those two. Paige Pierce is just too dominant, and we saw the kind of the rise of Haley King here at the end of the year. But I think when you look at potentially 27 events that these players have to get to, saying that Paige is going to get less than 2 wins, less than 4 top 10s, not a chance.
Not a chance. I think you mentioned Haley, and I think this is where things get interesting because Paige and some of the other women are pretty dominant. I think Haley is a really interesting person to look at for this over under. Do we think? Let's start with the top 10s. Do we think over under 3.5 top 10s for Haley?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over. I think Haley King is gonna pretty routinely finish in the top 10. And again, when you look at the number of events that are available to players next year, I'm definitely taking the over on the top 10s.
And the wins. Do you think she gets 2 wins?
Man, yeah, this one is a good one. I'm actually going to take the over on this one too. I think 2 wins for Haley in 2021 is very doable. She capped off in 2020. She capped off her 2020 with the big win. I think her trajectory over the last several years has really been up, and so I think she makes the move from 1 big win in 2020, which was kind of a weird year with not as many tournaments, to 2+ wins in 2021.
I think this is a really interesting time to be talking about this because the tour schedules of each individual player aren't quite out yet. So we're looking at what might be. We might find out that Haley's going to hit all the Silver Series events and Paige isn't hitting any. So we'll see how that pans out. Let's talk about probably the number 3 woman in the country domestically. Katrina, what do you think about top 10s for her?
Yeah, I think this is another one. She's pretty routinely in, really in that top 5 category and has been for a lot of years. So I'm going to take the over on the 3.5 top 10s and 1.5 wins. This is a tough one. And we don't have them on here because it's not certain if the European players are coming over. But I'm going to throw this qualifier in there. If the European players are not here, I'm taking the over for Katrina. And if the European players of Kristen, Henna, Evelina are here, I'm actually going to take the under for Katrina.
Honestly, I would have to agree with that. I think the barrier is definitely going to be those Innova girls. If they come
Yeah.
over and they hit it big, I definitely think they can push Katrina off that podium spot. So let's keep that. Let's do an under with the star next to it for this one.
There's an asterisk next to that.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
an asterisk.
it's hard to bet against Kat. She's been dominant for so long. I just think the young talent is so strong, and we've talked about that in some of our other videos.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going into the last woman in this top tier, Sarah Hokum. What do you think for top tens for this year?
Yeah, Sarah's pretty much a tour warrior, and she's usually following along the tour the whole year. I'm going to take the over for the 3.5 top tens, and I'm going to take the under on the 1.5 wins. I think she gets at least one win this year. I think two, kind of similar to Kat. I think that two number might be a little tougher this year.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Hokum definitely has what it takes to win here and there, but I definitely think Haley and Paige are going to be absolutely dominant this coming year, especially with both of them having, I think this is year 3 for Haley and year 2 for Paige. I think it's going to be a really good setup for them to just come out of the blocks and absolutely dominate. Okay, back over to the men's side. Let's talk about a guy who loves to put money down on anything and everything, and that's Kevin Jones. He's definitely one of those guys who can be fringe. He can have his ups and downs, but what do you think on over under 3.5 top tens for 2021?
3.5 top tens. I am going to take the over. I think that his trajectory, kind of similar to Haley's, has really been increasing. He had a really good 2020. No doubt in my mind, he gets the over on 3.5 top tens.
Okay, and the 1.5 wins, what do you think?
This is another tough one because you kind of said it. He is really good here and there, and he's a really good player. So it's kind of weird to use the term streaky at some of these tournaments. But I think I'm going to take the over just because when you look at the sheer volume of events, I really can't see a scenario where Kevin Jones does not get at least 2 wins this year.
Yeah, I think I'll take your word on it, but I personally disagree. I really think Kevin isn't. I think the fields are too deep. The fields are getting better. I think he will get 1, but I can't see him getting 2. But
yeah,
you're the boss here. We're gonna put over on that one.
Right.
Next up, we have somebody who missed a good majority of the tour last year because of COVID. He has a family. He stayed up in the Pacific Northwest. Had a great season up there. Don't get me wrong, but coming off of a weird year, maybe not the competition that he might be used to. That's Nate Sexton. Over under 3.5 top tens.
Man, this is a really tough one, and I'm kind of I agree with you. You have some great points that he really kind of played regionally this year with COVID and with family with the big move. There's still some pretty stiff competition up there. I know we've talked about the talent in the Pacific Northwest. We just had our interview with Scott Withers, and Discraft has started to kind of build a really good core up in the Pacific Northwest. I'm going to take the under on the 3.5 top tens, mainly because I think Sexton's going to play the bigger events, the Pro Tours. I don't think that we'll probably see him at the Silver Series. I think he's going to kind of ease back into it a little bit. And again, we kind of talked about his family life, so I'm actually going to take the under on this one.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. Same with the wins. I can't see him winning 2 events. He might pop one off and then get a few top tens, 2, maybe 3 top tens. But you're totally right. He only hits the biggest and the best, and no fault for him. He's doing a lot of other things with his life. Let's go into another Innova guy. Calvin Heimberg just signed a new contract. That's hot off the presses from when we recorded this. But do you think 3.5 top tens?
Yeah, I think Calvin is a dominant force, and 2020 really showed that. We kind of saw some glimpses of it in, really at the end of 2018, and then 2019 he had a good year. 2020 he had a phenomenal year. I'm definitely taking the over for 3.5 top tens.
I'd have to agree. What about your wins?
2 wins for Calvin. I think Calvin's kind of in a similar boat to Sexton, where he's probably going to play a lot of the bigger events. I think he's kind of built himself up there, but it wouldn't surprise me if we see him, maybe at a couple Silver Series that are along the way. So I'm actually going to take the over for Heimberg for 1.5 wins.
I'd have to agree with you. He's capped to the last 2 years, so that's 2 wins on its own. He's won the first event and the last event on the DGPT in 2019 or 2020 and 2019. So that's 2 wins for free. Let's go over to our third Innova player on this list, and that is Ricky Wysocki. I think Ricky Wysocki is probably one of the most interesting players on this list because of his journey over the past year, switching sponsors, getting Lyme disease, everything that kind of has happened over the past 2 years really puts him at a special place to both still shock the world as a 2-time world champion, shock the world and win events, but also he could disappear from an event or drop into that 10 to 15 spot. What do you think for 3.5 top 10s?
Yeah, if you watched our player power ranking video, you know that I'm pretty high on Ricky. I think he, his increase in rating throughout the second half of the year really showed that he is getting his body right. He's back in a good spot. So I'm gonna take the over for 3.5 top 10s for Ricky. I think it's probably a little bit more of a Ricky of old next year, and I think that we're probably gonna have a lot of Macbeth and Ricky battles in 2021, and I can't wait.
And the 1.5 wins, I think this is going to be really interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a really tough one. I think I think Ricky probably focuses on these bigger events and really puts his time and energy there. I think I'm going to take the over on this one. I think Rick gets 2 wins. We mentioned there's 12 Disc Golf Pro Tour events, the Pro Tour finale. There's 6 NTs. I think that there's enough events there for me to say that Ricky will find 2 wins out of all of that.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that 100%. Okay, so let's see. We have Eagle McMahon. Not technically Innova, but more or less the same, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think for the 3.5 top 10s?
Yeah, I think Eagle's dominant enough that he's going to get 3.5 top 10s. He had the 2 wins, obviously, the 2 big wins in 2020. Just 2 wins? I think just 2 wins. Not hard for me to see the over 3.5 top 10s for Eagle.
And I think 1.5 wins for Eagle might be a stretch. He does have a tendency to kind of take off and not play a few events just to kind of get himself in the right mindset to really tackle some of the bigger events. I think 1.5 wins is going to be tight. What do you think?
I think I'm going to take the under on this one, and I really don't have a good reason other than just a gut feeling. I think Eagle had a great 2020. His trajectory really has been up for across the last several years, but something in my gut just says maybe 2021 is going to be a weird year. He got, he signed his big deal through 2023, I think for 3 years with Discmania. So maybe he gets a little comfortable. Maybe 2021 is a kind of a weird year getting back to full-time touring. I don't know. I'm gonna take the under on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. Like he could not win a single event, get 13 second places, or he could get 8 wins and leave everybody in the dust, win a world championship, win USDGC, and win the DGPT final. Like it's kind of, Eagle is kind of enigmatic in that sense. You don't really know for sure. Okay, the last person on the top tier is Andrew Presnell. I think he is probably the most interesting of all of these because he's said a few things on social media, which I think is awesome. He's kind of mentioned that he thinks he's a top player. He mentioned it in his announcement video for his contract. I think the 3.5 top 10s is a breeze. I definitely think he's going to get the over on that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's a road warrior, and when you look at Silver Series events and again just the sheer number of events, I expect him to probably play all 27 of these events unless it's on his favorite B tier weekend at home or something. But Prez is going to be at 20 plus of these events. Seeing the over for 3.5 top 10s, I think he gets that this year.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I think he had 2, maybe 3 last year. I think he's definitely set up for. I mean, this is going to be his 3rd full year touring with Discraft. And you've said in the past that you give everybody a 2-year buffer once they change sponsors. What do you think about wins? I don't know that he'll hit 2 wins. I think he will get at least 1, and I think he's the guy that really started all of this when you made a post about him.
Yeah, he was the first guy I thought of with this over and under. The 1.5 wins. I think this might surprise people, but I'm going to take the over. And I know that
Oh,
people are going to say, "Oh, you're Discraft bias," but I think when you look at these Silver Series events where you're probably not going to have Paul Macbeth and Ricky Wysocki and Calvin Heimberg potentially at some of these events as they focus on the bigger ones, I think Presnell could get a big win this year, and I think he could also pick up a Silver Series win. So I'm going to take the over on the 1.5, but just barely.
yeah, I'll take that. That's a really good call. I think when we were talking about those Silver Series are really going to be the kind of the linchpin for some of this second tier of players. We have a
Yeah,
few players on the second level that really are probably going to pick up a lot of their wins and top tens in that lower series. And then a few names that we might know personally or we've talked to that are going to have some interesting results, and obviously a lot of them are Discraft. But speaking of sponsorships, let's start with the one guy nobody knows where he's going as of this moment.
yep.
That is James Conrad. We put him in the second one just because he is switching sponsors,
It
assumedly.
seems it seems like it seems like
Assumedly.
yeah.
And he's also kind of had a weird past year. He popped off one USDGC last year, and then didn't really do a whole lot this year. What do you think for 1.5 top tens? So that's two top tens for James Conrad.
Yeah, I think that's got to be a given. He's so good in the woods, and when you look at some of these woods courses, yeah, I'm taking the over on this one.
And for zero point 0.5 wins, do you think he's going to win one of the 27 major events?
Yeah, I'll give James Conrad a win. If he's throwing a paper plate or what. I think he's one of those players who can really have a great weekend. No matter where he ends up, whether he stays with Innova or goes somewhere else. I see him getting at least one win sometime in 2020.
Okay, so let's look at a guy who has said himself he does not care about winning. He said it in an interview. He said, "If I go out and I win an event, cool. If I don't win an event, also cool. I'm out here to throw discs and sell them as well." That is Simon Lazzotte, 1.5 top tens in 2021.
Yeah, Simon is such a interesting character because I feel like we talked about some of these other guys where he could win 8 events next year. If everything just kind of comes together and he reaches that next level, he could really do something. But we kind of got him in our tier 2 here. Um, Over or under 1.5 top tens? I'm gonna take the over on this one. Um, it seems like he's really once again working on his health and his fitness in the off season. I think he probably starts out the season really good um and then maybe tapers off a little bit later in the year.
Okay, okay. So, what about do you think he wins one of these events? He usually only plays the top of the top. He only plays your Worlds, your USDGCs, your DGPT events, and maybe even some national tours. Do you think he gets a win on tour?
I don't think so. I'm going to take the under on the half win for this. I would love to see Simon go to these Silver Series events because he just loves to have fun. And I think
Yeah.
these Silver Series events are a lot of fun. There's usually more fan interaction, which maybe isn't the best for COVID times, but you can still interact at a distance. Outdoors at this golf course. I would love to see Simon get to some of these maybe smaller events and engage with the fans and the people a little bit more. But um, yeah, I'm gonna take the under.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take
I
the
think I think if he like you said, if he keeps on that only elite top tier events, he's not gonna get a win. But if he
yeah.
does pop into a few Silver Series, I think the Stafford Open is kind of close to him. I think there might be one or two other Silver Series that's near him. He pops in, he might get that win. But if he's only doing that big tour, I don't see it happening.
Yep.
Okay, so the last non-discraft guy on this list is Nikola Castro, 1.5 top tens in 2021.
Man, Nico's such a hard one. He's been playing disc golf for so long. He's been touring for so long. I got to take the over on this one. I think he's a scrappy player. He's a grinder. Again, I hate to use the word streaky because he has so much experience. It's just some weeks things come together better for him than others. So I think I'm going to take the over on the the 1.5 top
I
10s.
totally think you're right. I think he gets at least 2, maybe 3, maybe 4. He's
Yeah.
definitely the kind of player that could really pop up there and have a few events. I think
Yep.
this 0.5 wins is going to be really interesting for Nico because he did win the Preserve last year.
Yeah.
But he was being absolutely chased down by both Eagle and Simon for that. And it took a couple big errors by Simon on that last hole to not push it to a playoff.
Yeah. Geez, I'm gonna take the under on this one. I think we certainly see Nico on a lot of coverage. Lead cards, feature cards, chase cards at different points throughout the year. But I'm gonna take the under on the half win for Nico.
Interesting. Okay, now we're gonna get into some Discraft players. Some of them on the core team, tour team, and just sponsored. And let's start with the one that is just sponsored in the ethereal form. That is Brody Smith. Obviously, he is absolutely grinding. Posted something very recently saying, "Hey, I'm taking it slow on making YouTube videos because I want to win next year." What do you think? Is he gonna get 2 top 10 finishes?
Man, this might be the hardest one of the whole thing because he is really grinding. His trajectory is still going up. I think he's probably going to focus on the bigger events. When we're just talking about the Pro Tours and the Silver Series and the NTs and just looking at these really high profile, high caliber events, I'm going to take the under on this one. I think he does get a top 10 this year at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he gets 2 though.
I don't know that I can agree with that. I think he will get 2.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I think weirdly enough, I think Brody Smith and Simon Lazzotte are in a similar vein. If they hit those Silver Series, they'll get those results. If they don't, they won't. But let's call it the under. It'll be a toss up. I bet he gets 11th. He gets 10th in one and he gets 11th in another. Okay, do you think he pops up for a win? Do you think he goes to Texas States or to Waco or to another Texas-related event and sleeps in his own bed and absolutely pops off and wins something?
Yeah, I don't know what the distance is to his own bed at some of those tournaments, but I think being a Texas native, he's going to have some home fan, some home morale advantage there. He's proven that he can win at some of these smaller events. He's beaten some really good players.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about the biggest 27 events of the year. I don't think Brody's quite there to sneak a win next year, but it's coming.
Hey, your word, not mine. I think he is gonna get at least 1 win, probably on the Silver Series. I think he is grinding. I really have the faith in him. He's really pumping it out. But we're gonna call it under for you. Okay, next up we have a guy who's recently promoted to the tour team by Discraft. That is Ben Callaway. He is, from what I've heard from you, he's an absolute bomber. Really knows how to play really well, and he's going on tour this year. Tell me about it, man.
Yeah, Ben Callaway is just one of the fittest guys you will probably ever meet. You better have your hand ready if you're going in for a handshake at any point. Maybe not advised during COVID, but Ben Callaway is a super strong dude, and he throws really far, throws laser beam putts. Yeah, I think Ben Callaway has really got a chance to kind of make some noise next year. As for the over or under on 1.5 top 10s, I'm going to take the under on this. Ben Callaway is no stranger to big events. He primarily plays A tiers in his region. He has a really good job, a really lovely family that he enjoys, kind of similar to Scott Withers. He likes being kind of regional, but he's all in next year, and I think that he's going to get a lot of experience. I think he's got the potential to prove me wrong, but if I'm betting on this one, I'm going to take the under.
Gonna take the under. And what about wins? Do you think he's gonna take
wins?
1 win?
Oh man, he could. Yeah, I'm gonna take the over on this one. I think Callaway's got a chance to win something like a Silver Series. Again, he's got so much experience at A tiers, and on these bigger stages, he's not afraid of them. He's a very confident player. I think Callaway finds a way to sneak out a win next year.
Interesting. Okay, so you mentioned him when talking about Callaway. Let's talk about Scott Withers. Recently switched from Innova to Discraft, and I think he's one of the biggest signings of the offseason. Actually, I will say he is the biggest signing, even considering Conrad doesn't know where he is.
Yeah, I mean, eighth highest rated player in the world, 20 wins in 2020. Like, my God. Yeah, 1.5 top tens. I'm taking the over.
Yeah.
We know we talked to him. We got his interview on our page. We know he's going to be a little bit more regional, but he's still hitting some big events and planning to still travel a little bit. Pandemic permitting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Withers is a force to be reckoned with, and seeing 2 top tens in 2021 at these big events is easy for me.
And does he get a win?
Oh, this is where it gets tough, man. These wins are so hard when you look at these guys who, we even kind of put just a step down from those other names. Um, I'm gonna take the under, and I love Scott. I'm a huge fan. It was so great to get to talk to him. I'm probably gonna be wrong on that one, but I'm gonna take the under.
Okay. Let's talk about captain to captain. Do you think the captain of the actual Discraft, big team Discraft, is going to take 1.5 top tens or more?
Yeah, Big Cap. I'm taking the over on this one for sure. Big Cap is a legend. He's been doing this a long time. Assuming he is touring full time, staying healthy, 2 top tens for sure.
And 0.5 wins.
Man, the wins is so hard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the under on this. I think that if he plays the big events, and kind of sticks to these big ones, kind of same reason on some of these other guys, I think we'll see him in the mix. We'll see him on some lead cards, but I think he maybe just gets edged out by a couple of these guys.
Okay, I can see that. I definitely could see him get a top 3, a podium finish, but maybe not get that win. Let's talk about Adam Hammes, somebody who's been very quiet in the offseason. He's hanging out in Arizona, the last I heard,
Yep.
And then he went back home for a bit. But he's been playing a lot of golf, right? Playing a lot of the sport. Do you think he gets 2 top 10 finishes?
2 top tens. Yeah, I think Hammes. I think he probably. I don't know if I would take more than 2. If this was 2.5, maybe I would say under. But yeah, I'm gonna take the over for the top tens. He's another player who has some good weekends. Really puts it together when his game is, really feeling sound, and his putter is absolutely insane. Having watched him play in person, so I think he finds his way into at least 2 top tens.
And do you think he gets a win?
I think this is another asterisk for me.
Yeah.
So if we see him at some of the Silver Series events
Mm-hmm.
and off the main Disc Golf Pro Tour, I think he gets a win.
Yeah.
If we just see him at these 12 Disc Golf Pro Tours and 6 NTs, I think the win maybe will lose him this year.
Yep, I feel that. Okay, the last guy we're going to talk about. Actually, we're going to have one honorable mention for this list, but the last guy we're going to talk about is going to be Tim Barham. Over under 1.5 top tens on the Elite Series.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the over on this one. I think 2020 was kind of a weird year for Tim. He's obviously a Michigan legend here, and we're both pals with him. I believe he's going to be out touring full time next year. He has a Disc Golf Pro Tour pass. We're going to see him on the road quite a bit. I think Tim finds a way to squeak out 2 top tens, and they might be fringe top tens. Maybe right at 10, but I think he finds a way to get to at least 2.
Gotcha. And do you think he takes a win? You said he has the Disc Golf Pro Tour pass. Does that include Silver Series or not?
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
But I think either way, I think I'm gonna take the under.
Okay.
On this one, and I'm probably gonna be wrong. I think Tim's gonna have a good year, but he's been one of those guys that's just right on the edge of really doing big things. So I think I got to take the under on this one.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think he could probably take down one of the Silver Series. There's a Clash at the Canyons. There's also the Mid-America Open. 2 events that I think play really well for him. Kind of a little bit more technical golf.
Yeah.
But I can see the under as well. The last, so not Discraft that I know of, one way or another. I think the honorable mention is going to be Ezra Aderhold. Does Ezra take 1.5 top tens?
Yeah, man, good name. Yeah, I think Ezra does. I think he really made a big splash in 2020, even with it being a weird year. We saw him win the Open at Belton, and that's a win, not just a top 10. So I see Ezra making 2+ top tens next year.
And do you think he gets that win with brand new discs? Well, mostly brand new discs.
Yeah, he threw a mixed bag, and we don't know where he's going. Um, does he get a win? That's a tough one. I think there's another one where if we see him at all 27 events, he finds a way to squeak out a win somewhere. Especially at these Silver Series events, he got the win at Belton, and I think he's proven that he has what it takes to win. So I'm gonna gamble and take the over on that one.
You're gonna take the over on it straight up. Okay. Okay. Now into the women's side. We're gonna start with the honorable mention, just like we were talking with Ezra. Valerie Mondahano. I think she's an interesting person. She doesn't tour a whole lot, but when she does play, she's right up there, very competitive. Do you think she takes the 1.5 top tens?
Yeah, the Mondahano sisters being in Texas there's a pretty big kind of southwest
Mm-hmm.
swing to the pro tour. So I'm gonna take the over for 1.5 top tens.
And for wins, does she take a win?
Nope. I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the under there. I think she's gonna certainly be in the mix, especially at some of these
Mm-hmm.
Texas tournaments. But I think when you maybe think about Texas, you think of the kind of more wide open shots. I guess Waco's kind of more technical and wooded with some pretty thick rough. Yeah. Either way, I think I'm gonna take the under there.
Gotcha. Okay, going into Ellen Widboom. She got a win on tour, and then I think she also took a win in the Silver Series. So I'm pretty sure she had 2 wins on the year on this Elite Series. But we're talking top 10. So you think she gets 2 top 10 finishes?
Yep. I see Widboom in the top 10, building on a great 2020. I think she's another player where when things are going well for her, she has a good weekend, and I think she finds a way into at least 2 top tens. And again, we're looking at potentially 27 events, so I certainly see Widboom making 2 top tens there.
Do you think she's going to repeat at I think it was Idlewild that she
Yeah, I
won?
believe. Yeah. Is she going to repeat at Idlewild? I don't think so. I think she just had a magical weekend
Okay.
there. As for the wins, I think I'm going to take the under on this one too. I think again,
Interesting.
it maybe depends on if the European contingent is here all year.
Mm-hmm.
I think she could potentially sneak out a win without them.
Yeah.
When if she has another really great weekend, but I think just on the safe side, I think I'm going to take the under.
That's interesting, even with the Silver Series. Okay, so Missy Gannon, a really competitive player, top tens, 1.5. What do you think? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, geez, we're looking at our list, and we had the big four women with the over, so we're putting them really dominant in the top tens. We got
Mm-hmm.
Widboom top tens, Missy Gannon. Yeah, I'm gonna take the over.
Okay.
I think she really started out hot in 2020 and was really in the mix. I think she has the potential to really be in the top five, but I think top 10 is pretty reasonable.
Do you think she takes a win?
Oh man, this is a tough one. I know that she loves to hang out with Paige and tour with Paige. I think if she's at all of these same events with Paige, I think Paige is so dominant right now that she doesn't get a win. I think if she branches off and plays potentially all 27 of these events, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
I think she could sneak out one, but I think she's probably going to focus on the bigger events. So I'm gonna take the under there.
I can see that. I can see that. Okay, the last person on our list is probably the youngest on the list, I think, and appropriately so. Her name is Heather Young. Do you think she takes 2 top 10 finishes?
Yeah, I think Heather is another player whose trajectory is still going up. I think I would love to see her get some more distance to her game. She's very accurate. I think she's great in the woods. Um, this is another one where she could just be fringe top tens, finishing ninth or 10th. She could finish in the top five, but I think she gets over the 1.5.
Gotcha. And do you think she takes a win on tour at any point? 27 events, 1 win.
Yeah, I know how big a fan of Heather Young you are.
She's
I'm gonna take.
left-handed. I have to be.
I know. I'm gonna take the under on this one.
Really?
I think Heather has a sound game. She plays really smart, but I don't know that she has that kind of killer instinct to finish out a tournament, to close out a tournament, to hold the people off that are chasing, and get a big win. And I think she's probably another player who will focus on the bigger events. I don't know that we'll see her at the Silver Series events because I think she's kind of an upper status for the FPO field. But yeah, I'm gonna take the under on this.
Gotcha. I think it's going to be a really interesting year. 2021 is going to be a special year. Hopefully things don't get shut down again with COVID. But at the end of the day, we have, I think there's 25, 26 people on this list. We definitely missed some. So if you have any that you didn't hear or you want to call out, drop it in the comments. Let us know. Or if there's anybody who's a regional player that you think might pop up and win some of these local events or take a top 10. We all know that happens from time to time. There are players from that, maybe a player from Lockport, Illinois comes into Clash at the Canyons and just wins the whole thing. So we're curious about what kind of dark horse players you might see in regional events. But at the end of the day, there's only one thing left to do. And what is that, Wes?
Well, if you want to win one of these events, you got to make that putt.